Hello everyone. In this episode, we're going to talk about the value of walkthroughs. Stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Same Page. I am Lenard and this is my lovely wife,
Sarah.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about the value of going through walkthroughs.
Yeah, so as many of you already know, we are now doing some land development projects. And one thing that we noticed, and actually we've been advised, is to really walk through different properties of the same size that you're trying to build or trying to build or develop, yes, and to really see what the layouts look like, because I think sometimes we leave a lot of the work to your architect, to your designer, but really you should be able to have a say in what your design looks like, and it has to make sense. And if you've never seen the modern brand new buildings and what your units could look like in ideal time, it's very hard to picture it on paper once an architect kind of submits it to you and says, hey, here's what I came up with. Like, you might see a bathroom, a living room, a kitchen, but you don't know if the layout flows, you don't know if the sizing is right or what it feels like when you walk in. So it's very important to actually see some properties that are kind of like the ones that you're developing.
Exactly. That's a very good point. And I know for one of our projects that we're doing right now, we're looking to add some secondary dwelling units in the basement. And this weekend, actually, as part of like a little family activity, which is another added bonus to walkthroughs, at least for us it is, we were able to actually see how that would look like. So not only were we able to see how it would look to adding that those stairs to the side of the house, going downstairs towards the unit, but also seeing the layout, as Sarah alluded to, and also seeing the size of it. One thing that's very deceiving sometimes, it's like when you do see those drawings and those plans on paper, it's like, okay, technically it could fit here or there, but then you don't get that true feel unless you're actually staying in the middle of a room and you're like, okay, so this is where the couch is supposed to be, this is where the TV might go, this is where maybe there might be a little small kitchenette or a little table, and then you have maybe the cabinet, and then you see that spacing and it's like, oh, it seems a little tight. The bedroom may like, at least the one we saw the weekend, it was pretty good size. The washroom was the bathroom was also of good size as well, and then you had the stack washer and dryer stuck like basically kind of like tucked into a closet. Very nice. And then you also see some small details as far as like the electrical panel, and then and then where you may put like the furnace or depending on what type of like HVAC heating system that you choose to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for example, I've owned a condo that was 1 bedroom, 630 square feet, and I felt it was
Quite
okay.
Spacious.
The space was fine. There was no storage room, but there was enough space, I felt like, for a little table and a decent sized couch and a TV. But if I hadn't actually seen one like that, I would have had no idea what 630 square feet would feel like. So it's really good to take a look at what's out there. Ask for the plans when you go and do a walkthrough. Ask for the square footage and see what the different layouts feel like. And sometimes what happens is that, at least for us, when we're developing our plans, you try to save a little bit on cost to build. So you try to make the units not too big. You could have a 1 bedroom that's 800 square feet, but it's not necessary, right? So you're trying to see, okay, well, what's comfortable versus what's affordable for you to build and fits in your numbers. But you also have to be careful that you're not going so small that, yes, it fits in your numbers, but nobody's gonna want to rent something that's, let's say, 550 square feet. So it does have to be realistic in terms of your size, and it has to fit your numbers. I want to talk a little bit about the family outing of walkthroughs. So I think in general, we tend to shy away from, or maybe beginner investors tend to shy away from doing walkthroughs. And I think mostly when it's something that they want to purchase.
Yes.
For us, obviously, it was something that it's an open house, right? So you're not going there and you're not being scrutinized by the agents, because anybody can come in and take a look. So it's a great opportunity for us to not only bond, to tell you the truth, because it's just an outing, right? It costs nothing. You go and you discuss, real estate a little bit, but it's fun. You're like, oh, this is a nice kitchen. I love these floors. I love the layout. And so it's an activity that you can do within real estate, but that still kind of like brings your family together, brings joy, and it's not too numbers heavy and serious too much. And it's just like, oh, let's go take a look at these beautiful new homes. And it can give you some really nice ideas of not only the layout, but even material, your finishings, the colors, and maybe what the modern buyers may look for, or the new buyers may look for. Because in this one, there was barely any backyard.
Very little backyard. And just to kind of go back to what you're saying.
No, let's finish this thought.
Oh, sorry. So what were you alluding to as far as the fact there was no backyard?
Yeah, so there was barely any backyard.
Yes.
And one thing that I thought is like, well, if it's a 3-bedroom, you're most likely selling it to a young family.
Yes, okay.
So you may want a backyard, but one of the things that the selling agents told us is that, there's a lot of parks around nearby. So it may not be a big deal. I think for me, it would be a big deal. I do like the convenience of just letting your kids kind of go in the backyard and play, and you have an eye on them, especially when they're very young. But they may have a point. If you have kids that, I don't know, 6, 7, that are a little bit more independent. I'm not sure how old kids have to be to go to the park on their own, but at least there's amenities that would fit the lifestyle of a young family still. And I didn't consider that. I was just like, no backyard and no deal, But that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, and plus we also thought that for like a house of that value and that price point, like there should be more of like at least an entertaining space backyard, if anything. Like because at least from what we saw, you can barely put a barbecue there, and you can barely put like some type of like patio or seating arrangement or whatnot. So it's like, for that price point, I definitely want to have a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and that's just us, right?
Yeah.
Maybe location would entice other people to pay that price. So just by the way, it was going for 1.35 million. It's a 3-bedroom single family detached. Was it one car garage or 2?
It was a 1-car garage.
1-car garage.
But a double driveway lot.
Yeah, so another benefit to actually going through these walkthroughs is actually seeing what you are offering for that price, right? So if we were to build a single, a detached house, 3-bedroom in that area, this is the listing price, 1.35. That doesn't mean they'll sell for that, but at least you get an idea. Okay, this is what it's going for. You can follow it on the market, see if it's bought, if it's purchased for that price. Then you can kind of keep track of these things, so that when you're purchasing a deal, then you have comps, and you can tell yourself, okay, this will sell for this much, or approximately this much, so I can go ahead and buy it for X amount. So
okay, good. Well, the point that I wanted to make, which I thought that you were alluding to, has to do with when you go through these walkthroughs, it also stimulates your creative juices. And like I don't know about you, but like I really like the windows in one of the units specifically. There's a lot of big windows, so there's a lot of natural light in the space. Then also like simple things as far as like the light fixtures. Those they were very simple, and they weren't very elaborate, but they're very stylish. So just a couple things like that on top of the natural stuff or the normal or the regular stuff as far as like the layout and how the primary bedroom is laid out with the ensuite and the master suite and whatnot. But yeah, it definitely gets those your imagination going, and you're able to kind of like like tap into those creative juices.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing that I noticed is the finishes on the outside. There was a combination of siding and brick.
Yes, mostly siding.
Mostly siding. And as we're designing our own, I think we told the designer we wanted brick. We kind of chose a contemporary look.
That's correct, yeah.
And then we met with somebody recently who's a builder themselves, and they're like, don't do brick. It's very expensive compared to siding. Just do siding, especially our units are going to be rentals, right? And then I never thought of it. And I actually saw how siding can look really good, like depending on the color. So if you put it a black or a gray, and then you accentuate it with like a different colored door, it could definitely have a very modern look. So I'm thinking, maybe it will increase the value if we have a little bit of brick, or it may look nicer, but I don't think it'll increase the value that much, for one, or at all. And for two, siding can look very stylish. So those are things that when you see it, then you can tell yourself, okay, yeah, I don't mind going for that, because it does still look good for your own development. So there's certain things that only really when you see it that you can really make a decision whether you want it or not.
Exactly. And like I think most people have the idea of like, when you mention siding, you automatically think of like the normal like white or beige, but like we've seen some nice grays and actually a burgundy that really popped, especially with like if like the accent as far as like the doors and the windows were like in black, we're painted black, like it really like made it pop. And so it definitely kind of like opened our eyes to other possibilities for something that can still look good just by choosing colored siding instead of brick.
All right, well, this was an episode on the value of going on walkthroughs or open houses for whatever project that you have, to really get a better idea of what you want and the feel of what it may look like if the sizes are the same, and also of your finishes. So do your work, do your due diligence, go on these walkthroughs, because it can be very helpful when you're designing a new building.
Exactly. And on top of that, you can make an outing of it as far as bringing the whole family and making it an event. I know here in Ottawa, like most open houses are on Sundays, so on a Sunday afternoon, it's definitely a nice outing for the family as well.
After church. All right, guys, thank you for watching. And as always, if you have comments or you want to reach out, our contact information is right below. And you know how to reach out to us, and we welcome any comments or questions. And as always, don't forget to
live your truth.